Guidance is internal.
Ignition sequence start.
3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. 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 Because it looks so.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism here with a short video in response to a few of you who have contacted me and asked what video do I have that explains the sun like I did this past Sunday on Globebusters. And the answer to that question is nowhere. So I'm about to show you really quickly, and as always, please do your own research. Don't trust me, don't trust anyone for that matter. Look at what I say, compare it with your reality, and then decide for yourself. If you feel that the evidence adds up to you living here, that's fine by me. Now let's look closely at this image, however, and you'll see that it isn't even a sphere. It's clearly a manipulated CGI image. It doesn't even look like a photograph at all. Now, you might think it looks like a photograph. I don't know. You might think that you live on a sphere, but why would we think that? Well, probably because we see images like this. Even though no one's ever seen the Earth from this vantage point, ever. Or images like this. Never seen that before, no one ever has. How about like this? Certainly haven't seen that, but for some reason, these camera companies want to make film and want to make images that come out like this. Who wants to see their world like this when it's not at all how we ever see it? Well, somebody pushes this down our throat pretty hard. How about this one? This photo was actually the thumbnail for a video called Students Show the Curvature of the Earth. Even though we can clearly see that the rope right in front of your face is bent because it's using a fisheye lens. And so the question becomes, if the globe Earth is so matter-of-fact, it's so true, so apparent, so scientific, why would they go through such length, such as CGI, image manipulation, fisheye lenses, Photoshop, because it has to be, taught to children when their minds are barely forming? Remember that children believe that Santa goes to every house in the world on one special night with flying reindeer. And once you start looking into the truth of where you live, well, that workshop, the elves at the North Pole, with Rudolph leading the way, the red-nosed reindeer, as Santa comes and delivers presents to every girl and every boy's home in the world, is more believable than living on a giant space rock, flying through space at well over 1,000,000 miles per hour. All part of a cosmic accident held in our orbit by gravity. Let's take a look at gravity for a second. Remember, we all learned about this on that magical deception show of science.
What do you think makes the Earth go around the sun?
Oh, me, I know this one. Indoctrination. Freemasons. The absolute horror of a unique position, the hopes and dreams of men.
What makes the Earth and all the other planets round like a ball?
Oh, that one's easy. That's easy. Telescopes, fisheye lenses, composite images. Robert Simon. CGI, artists, computer software.
What makes things fall?
I think I know this one. Wind, wet floors, density, momentum, banana peels.
Well, you can try, but you can't deny the force you see is gravity.
If you haven't yet noticed, as children, all of us had no chance. I mean, no chance from the get-go, being told, you can try, but you cannot deny that the answer to all your questions, children, is gravity. The weakest force that there is, yet it holds oceans to the spinning Earth. Holds the Earth in its orbit around the sun and the moon in its orbit around the Earth. But it has little to no effect on subatomic particles. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Absolutely. Maybe we need a little help from Bill Nye's special cadets. Please, help us explain gravity, because I'm struggling here.
You see, gravity works on everything. It's always pulling. It's a big gravitational party.
This is good for about a minute. Watch this. Look what I've done. Taken an ordinary sock, rolled it up into a ball. One sock, not two, one. Taken a piece of string, wrapped it around the sock, stuck it through this toilet paper roll, tied the string onto a plastic bag and put an apple in it. Watch what happens. See the apple? That's like the sun. And the sock is like Earth. The string is kind of like The sun's gravity holding the Earth in orbit.
Oh yeah, I get you. The string, it's just like the imaginary force that does everything we need it to do, holds the Earth in orbit. Okay, makes all kinds of sense, except for why the toilet paper roll? Why was the apple in a bag? Why the sock? Totally confused. Anyway, let's go to Universe Sandbox. It's a little game where I can pull up a simulation currently of the Earth, so I'm setting it at 1 second equals 1 second so we can see exactly what gravity's doing this moment. Because it might make sense to kind of whip this string around a circle and you can kind of see, okay, well, it's held in this gravity, kind of like the string, I don't know. But let's look at it live. Oops, did I forget to hit start? Nope. That's what you have to believe is going on right now. The huge rock ball Earth. Think of how much the Earth would weigh. Picture that huge floating rock and it's just sitting in space. Sitting in a vacuum. Just sitting there. Whee! Look at how fast we're going. Of course, if you're using mathematics, we're going over 1,000,000 miles per hour. But of course, if we just take a little spacecraft and look back at the Earth, this is what's going on. Absolutely nothing. The floating and gravitational attraction of all the planets as they spiral throughout endless space around the Sun. Now, of course, this isn't to scale, because if it were, it'd have to show the Sun being 1.3 million times bigger than the Earth. Now, let's think about something. I'm not sure about you, but have you ever flown 2,500 miles, say from California to New York, or some like distance? That trip takes 7 hours in a jet going 550 miles per hour, and all you did was go across the United States. Now go outside and look at the Sun and remind yourself that you believe, because someone told you, that the Sun is 1.3 million times bigger than the Earth. Why? Where's the evidence? Nope, there's none. It's just because someone told you. That's it. Can we triangulate the distance of it? Well, if you do, you're going to come out to the same distance that the Moon is. They're the same angular size, and therefore, you go ahead and triangulate it all you want. You're going to come out to the same distance. And that's only if you add in the curvature of the Earth. You can believe what you want. Anyway, take note, however, that I have never said that I know exactly how all this works. I've never said that I know exactly how it all operates. I do not. But when it comes to the Sun on a flat motionless plane, as I described on Globebusters this Sunday, here's how I see it working. First thing, to understand the idea of the atmospheric dome. I'm not saying that there is a glass dome. I'm not saying anything about an actual physical dome. But here's what I am saying. So let's see how far we can agree before you guys jump off track. So let's see. So far we agree. We are existing. We live here somewhere. I'm assuming we're on the same page. We can see in a circle around us for about 3 miles in radius. If it's very clear, perhaps more. Looking at something very large, a building or maybe a large boat, we can see further. But generally speaking, a 6-foot man can see about 3 miles from his position. If we get up higher, we can see further. Our view circle enlarges. I think everyone would be on the same page so far, right? Let's move on. All right, let's look at this observer here and realize that the air in front of us can be a lot like a pane of glass. Then if you added a second pane of glass or a third pane, a fourth pane, eventually it would become harder to see because you have more of this glass. It's just going to add up, just like our atmosphere adds up in front of our eyes. So one could say that seeing further through the air might be more difficult. If we add panes of glass, things get progressively more difficult to see. Notice the red dot here on the back of the 15 panes of glass is more difficult to see than the same red dot at the front. If our observer stands and takes a look at his surroundings, we know we can see in a 360-degree circle around us, and our view is the radius of that circle. Now, where would the most atmosphere or panes of glass be to our observer? Well, it's at the ground level, the thickest portion of our atmosphere. As we go up, our atmosphere thins out. So here we have the most atmosphere at the Earth level. So knowing where the most is and where the least is, we can come to the conclusion or the realization that we see in a dome-like viewpoint. Since the second most heavy portion of the atmosphere is when we start to look up just a little bit, well, progressively from there we see less and less atmosphere and distortion. This is a dome shape. No, I'm not saying there's a glass dome of any kind. We see through the atmosphere in a dome-like shape from the observer's point of view. And every single person on Earth each has their own dome view of the sky above. Let's look at an example. So let's say these two people have a cloud over their heads. Let's say that that cloud is 10,000 feet. It's above each of their heads. Each observer would see the other cloud almost at the horizon. As it went off into the distance, that cloud, even though it's 10,000 feet above his buddy, would be down at the horizon line. They would see something like this. And of course, the guy looking back would see almost the exact same thing, something like this. And so even though both observers have the cloud 10,000 feet above their heads, they can see the cloud above the other guy at the horizon. It is at times indistinguishable from the horizon. They would both see the cloud sloping down in the distance. So if that cloud traveled towards the other guy, the cloud would slope down and get smaller the closer it got to the horizon. Here's a good example of that. You know, that reminds me of another easy observation that should tell you where you live. Real quick timeout. Take a look at this photo. We've all seen clouds like this, right? Well, now take notice of the dark underside of the clouds. Well, the shaded areas of the clouds, if you lived on a globe, wouldn't it show like this? But we never ever see that. Clearly, the clouds are telling us something. As we can see here, the larger amounts of the shadowed part of the cloud that we can see is closest to us, and as they go away from us, we see less and less of the bottom. Whereas if you were on a globe, you should see more and more of the bottom. I'll let you decide why we don't see what we should if we lived on a ball Earth. Now that we understand exactly what the clouds are doing as they go away from us, we can start to understand this idea of the atmospheric dome. That as the cloud goes off in the distance, it is setting in our atmospheric dome. It is not getting closer to the horizon. We know that, but everything we see happens in our personal little dome. Now we can see the sun. As the sun goes away from us, now we understand why the sun sets on a flat Earth. And also, as the sun's away from the other observer, why it rises on a flat Earth. It is simply the sun eclipsing the atmospheric layer or the cloud layer at the horizon off in the distance. And it, much like the cloud, never changed their height in the sky in comparison to you. It's just the way we observe it. So everything that happens above us displays for us in our own personal atmospheric dome. The sun, the moon, and that's why we don't have the exact positions for either one, because they're rendered to each of us separately. Rather, the only time that you could really get the measurement of the distance of the sun would be on the equator on the equinox. The same goes for Polaris, where you can only get its distance from the North Pole. And both the distance to Polaris and the distance to the sun on the equinox from the equator come out to the same number. That number is the radius of the Earth. And you can't be fooled, huh? So the ISS, hot air balloons, helium weather balloons, planes, lightning, all of it, stars too, are included in your atmospheric dome. Now, if a plane flies over your head in Boston, someone in Florida can't see it. It's too far. Same goes for Polaris from further than the equator. Here we've got another drawing. It's labeled a few places. We'll look at label letter A. That's the observer showing his radius of view circle. Letter B is the supposed curve of the Earth. C is the actual flat plane of the Earth. D is the apparent concavity of the Earth, and that's when we see the water rising to eye level. E is the apparent path of the clouds. F is the true cloud level. G is the apparent path of the sun. And H is the actual sun path. The next image that you see, it gives you an idea of what many of these atmospheric domes would look like together, all operating at once. When one guy has noon, well, another guy has 1 o'clock, another guy has 2 o'clock, and so on and so forth around the flat plane. We will look at this in an optic simulation in a moment. I also wanted to bring up another fun flat fact. During a solar eclipse, when the moon crosses the sun, there is an immediate 10-degree Fahrenheit drop in temperature. Well, during sunsets, when the Earth blocks the sun, we don't receive a 10-degree drop in temperature. And why is that? It's exactly the same thing. The sunlight is being blocked by a big body. In this case, it's the Earth, yet we don't see any such drop, just more ammo for you flat earthers. Very well. Another effect of the atmospheric layer, or blocking or dome, whatever you want to call it, can be seen when we look at things across water in the distance. Think about it. When you're looking across the water, that's the most atmospheric blockage. As you're looking across, you're going to get some distortion. If you try to look across at a lighthouse, it's going to look very broken up to you. It might even look like there's water in front of it. There's a lot of things going on there. But simply by going up higher, you're now above that atmospheric layer where there's less atmosphere, and you can actually look over the water and see the complete lighthouse. Now, if you're Wolfie, who could never be fooled, this is simply the curvature of the earth, and when you're down at the ground, the lighthouse is behind the hump of water. And that makes a lot of sense, simply because you were taught it. I guess that's what we're supposed to do. Simply believe and trust men and never question things for ourselves. All right, now we're going to head over to a website. You can follow me if you want. It's at ricktu288.github.io/ray-optics/simulator. And this is so we can observe this in probably an easier to understand way. So I've showed the simulator before. Many of you have seen it, but you can use lenses, you can use mirrors, blockers, point sources of light, beams of light, whatever, to create whatever you want, atmospheres of various densities. So here I put a blocker on the ground level just to make the kind of the ground. It is the brown bar there. Also, don't mind the bottom of the screen. You'll see that I've already set up for the multiple dome idea. So let me delete a couple things here. And now I'll add that point source of light, and then I'll add the extended rays so that I can get the sun's reflection. And now you can see this orange point here. That is actually the sun that we all see. So you can see as the sun moves across the sky, we can see the sun rise, we can see sunset, we can see noon, and we can even see twilight, dawn, and dusk. So this is what I believe the sun is doing. You can see here as it sets, you get that late after sunset glow. Just like when it rises, you'll get the same thing over here. You'll get that morning amber. So this is what I think is going on with the sun. And at the bottom, we'll go to there momentarily, and we'll see how it works for multiple people. So I will mention again, I'm not saying that there's an actual physical dome. That's not what I'm saying. We're talking atmospheric effects here. And here we see a sun setting. And believe me, you will never again look at a sunset the same way, or you shouldn't, because you now should realize that there is no sun setting as you're falling backwards faster than the speed of sound. That's not what sunsets are. Sunsets are the sun going away from you, and we'll see that clearly here in a moment, as the sun does not set because we're spinning out of away from it and that it's going away at 93 million miles distant from us. No, the sun is just going away from us. There it goes, and you'll see that it's just basically setting on that cloud layer that we talked about earlier. And you can watch it well after the sunset, as we'll do here, and you'll see the sun take off into the distance. It's not setting behind any earth. That's why we don't see the temperature difference or drop in 10 degrees. It's just off into the distance, going further and further away, and the throw of the light isn't as far as where we are standing, our observing position. So go watch all the sunsets you can. I'm certainly not somebody who tells you what not to watch or don't go watch this person. Watch all the channels. Go watch all the science shows you can. Go watch all the sunsets you can, and you're going to quickly see the truth of what's going on. And the truth of the matter is that we've been lied to on a big, big level, and it's going to continue until we stand up as a group and end the lies and the deception. So as the sun goes off into the distance, I just wanted to thank everyone for watching and invite you, if you're interested or if you want to help me out, you can head over to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/jeranism. And I'm not far off, maybe half or close to 2/3 from a position where I would no longer need to work my regular job. Just got back today from a 2-day auction, and boy, would it be great to give those up and to focus on experiments and tests and interviews and research and making videos. That's what I like to do. And it is so few people who get to make enough money to live while doing what they truly love. And if that was ever me, I couldn't thank my patrons enough. So if you want to help make that dream a reality, head over to patreon.com/jeranism And if you don't, that's okay. You still get to watch my videos and enjoy the content. And if you hate my guts, well, isn't that nice? But I do want to remind you that there is a block button. You can go to my channel and just click block, and guess what? You never have to see another ridiculous, idiotic, moronic jeranism video again for as long as you shall live, which should make you very happy. But for some reason, you just keep showing up here every video I make with your comments. And that's another thing. I'm getting really, really close to just shutting down my comments completely. So I'll watch another video or two. If they continue to be as negative and as completely pointless as they are, I just can't keep providing that opportunity for people to spread their vitriol and their hate. And it's just disgusting, and I don't want to be a part of it. And by providing that opportunity with my videos, if I can do something to stop it, which is very easy, I just hit no comments. That's coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. And the many people who have an issue with people in the truth movement asking for money, well, I mean, look, I love searching truth, and I like making videos, and if I can make money doing it, or people are willing to help me do what I love to do for a living, well, thank you very much. And if you don't want to give me a penny, guess what? You don't have to. So that's the easy part. The difference here is that all of us are required to give money to NASA, to fake space, and to lie to our children. So you're not required to help me out at all. So keep spreading the hate, and the comments will have to get shut down if that's all you guys want to use my channel for. I'm at 98,800 subs, I think, last time I checked. So I hope to do something special if I hit that special 100K number. Can't even believe it. I can still remember back when my wife and I were excited that my first video hit 100 views, and we were stoked that 100 people had watched it, had watched a Flat Earth video. So appreciate you guys watching a ton. Also wanted to mention that there's some channels out there that really need some call outs. They're doing great work. One of them, one of the most underrated channels, if you're looking for observations that should tell you all you need to know, or a lot of what you need to know, just some real world observations, somebody out there with a camera telling you what he sees, showing you what he's doing, what settings and everything. That is David from Wide Awake. So the link to his channel will be in the description. Please sub him. Please check out. He's got thousands of observations that you should see. Also got more to call out, but let's watch here. I forgot to do the multiple domes. So here you see that as the sun is moving back and forth across the sky, you can kind of look at all those domes as basically a representation of the entire flat Earth. And you can see that one person has noon, the next person over has 2, 4, 6, 8, sunset, and then on the other side you've got people having sunrise. And that's basically what goes on throughout the world every day. Here's another great observation. You can see us zooming in and picking up these boats. You can even see that layer of water right there. You can see that hard line where things are just becoming blocked by the atmosphere. These boats have not gone over any curve, even though as much as they'll try and tell you that's what's going on, that is not what's going on. You are getting a broken up image. Again, check out Dave from Wide Awake. He's got so many observations showing you exactly what's going on, beyond our limit of our regular eyesight. Picture this is with your eyes. We're zooming out here and see right here. You would have thought that boat went over the edge. If it was the year 1500 before telescopes or before optics, we would have no idea. So it makes sense that maybe they thought that. It doesn't make sense now. It doesn't make sense for people to be arguing on that team when it's just their egos. It really is their ego. I've also got another video coming out soon that will address Wolfie. Here you can watch this boat, and as it zooms out again, you would think that boat went over the curvature. It did not. We just showed it, yet people keep arguing for it. Here we can see a SpaceX launch, and if you watch it again, ladies and gentlemen, that is not going to space. And it's not the same as the perspective we were talking about earlier when the clouds were dropping down to the horizon line, because this is going across our sky from left to right, or from right to left in this case. And you'll see that this gets up in the sky. That thing is not moving at the speed they say, and it certainly is not gaining altitude as it takes off and dumps in the water and steals your tax money. It's not what we've been told. We'll watch that one more time because, well, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. So don't forget that. Courtesy of Elon Musk. Let's watch it again. And if you think this is off to space, Red's rhetoric, because you film it, good for you. This thing gets about there. That's about the peak of its altitude. And here it comes back down to Earth, like everyone who believes in space should do very quickly. So the other people I wanted to point out, you need to check out Bo at the channel BMLSB69. Also doing great observations, great tests with some platforms down in Santa Barbara. Check him out. Phuket Word, Paul on the Plane, another great channel. Taboo Conspiracy, the list goes on. And all the channels named will be in the description. So stay tuned. I've got lots of videos coming up. One for Wolfie, one for R and Raw. Lots more, so subscribe and all that stuff. I do appreciate it. And meetups coming up too. Friday, May 4th in Sacramento. Contact Michelle Gentz for details. And Palmdale will be May 12th. Contact Netta at Netta073 at Yahoo for details on that one. And I will see you there. Be kind. Don't lie. Open your mind. You'll be shocked what's inside. Till next time, this has been Jeranism.